What an absolutely terrifying headline. New Texas law is forcing Dragon Ball off store shelves. But that's not the entire story. Yes, I, like many other people, seen all these articles popping up over the last 24 hours and thought immediately, holy crap, here it is. SB20, it's finally going into effect. Now these stores are actually taking anime and manga off of their shelves. It's all beginning. But as I look further into it, and I look into the original news article for this, there's something that all these news articles are not actually covering, and it's kind of concerning. There's also an element here where it feels like this could be a little bit performative and not necessarily what I've been talking about before, which is the chilling effect. Because my stance on SB20 has always been the idea that, yes, I feel it's very vague, but at the same time, it'll never hold up in court. If something actually happens, it's going to get struck down so easily. But let's check out this article very quickly before we actually get into the nitty-gritty of this whole situation. Texas' latest wave of legislation is making waves in unexpected places, including comic book stores and the Dragon Ball manga. A recent enacted law, Senate Bill 20, is intended to combat obscene imagery, including material generated by artificial intelligence. However, its broad language has left retailers worried about how beloved works of popular culture might suddenly fall under scrutiny. That concern became reality for one comic shop in Westlake, Texas. Andrew Balderas, manager of Kaboom Comics, recently pulled volumes of Dragon Ball Z from shelves, according to Valley Central. Though the depictions in question are rare and framed for humor, he chose to act cautiously rather than risk violating the new law. The move shows how vague legal standards can impact creative works never meant to cross the line. And again, I looked through all these articles, and they all don't include one key thing that we'll get into in a minute, which is why exactly he chose to take them down. Yes, it's mentioning the idea that there's a vagueness here that makes them very concerned, but there's more to it. So let's actually go to the original news report and hear it from them. I'm going to blur the guy's face because I don't really like having people's faces on my videos.
When I first heard, I was like, oh, it's, against AI generating inappropriate stuff like that. By all means, it doesn't need to do that. But
yeah, 100% agree. I think everybody agrees. The original intent, which I think is what sort of masked the unfortunate side of it, is that nobody's against this. The idea of doing this is extremely inappropriate. And I would argue that the laws already are in effect. Because in order to train the AI, you have to have the materials. That's the disgusting part of it. But yes, they're also talking about the idea of deep faking other classmates and whatnot and using that against them. That stuff, yes, I 100% agree. That should not be happening.
But yeah, it is going to affect things that had no intention in that way whatsoever.
On its final reading in May of this year, SB20 passed the House in a 139-0 vote. Andrew Balderas, the manager at Kaboom Comics in Westlake, says there was some online discussion about the bill as it made its way through the legislature, and that's when he began looking into how it might impact his business.
Saw people posting that it was going to be affecting a lot of anime manga stuff because they would show, culturally inappropriate things on certain characters and stuff.
There you go. That's what nobody seems to be covering, and I kind of question why. No other articles, no websites is covering the fact that that's the reason why he's doing. I mean, there's probably some articles that are doing that. I'm just saying all the ones that I've read, like Screen Rant, these sites are not covering it. They're just saying the new Texas law is forcing Dragon Ball off store shelves. They're not covering the idea that it's a guy seeing people talking about this is why he took it down. It's the Doom posters. I'll put myself in the crosshairs too. I've made like 3 videos on it, even though every single video that I make on this whole SB20 thing, I always say over and over again, read it for yourself. And if it ever gets taken to court, it's going to get slapped down so damn fast. But my fear has always been the chilling effect, that he's sort of getting a side effect from people's fear of it. This isn't the law coming after him. This isn't him reading the law. This isn't him going, oh, I don't feel like this is going to be good. It's him seeing somebody else talk about it in a negative light, and he's taking the stuff down himself. He's self-censoring because he's seeing the doom posting. And again, call my videos doom posting. I don't care. I've seen a lot of people replying to my stuff, and they think that I am saying that SB20 will ban this stuff. My whole point has been the chilling effect, and it's so broad it could be interpreted that way if they wanted to. I don't trust the government. I'm sorry, I don't trust the law. I can see if they want to take down this comic book store for having Made in Abyss on their shelf, which we'll see in a minute, they could. But the key thing here is the law's not telling him to take it down. It's him taking it down because he's seen people posting about it.
So it would fall underneath that bill. And then that's when I realized that it was going to affect stuff here.
The law makes it a state jail felony for first-time offenders, with more severe penalties for repeated violations. It's also eligible for prosecution under laws related to organized criminal activity.
And there's the key thing there. It's more of an aspect that they just don't want to get involved with it. A lot of companies are not going to want to get involved with all this stuff. That's the chilling effect. I don't know if it affects us. Why would I put myself in the crosshairs of possibly all this stuff?
Balderas says very few customers have asked about the law, but there have been discussions within the company about how to make sure they're in compliance.
And there's a key thing there. So it's not just him. So I originally thought when I first seen this and I heard him talk about how he's seen some posts and that's why he took it down, I thought maybe there was possibly something else working here. But he's actually talking about Kaboom Comics, which he is, I would assume it's going to be Kaboom Comics, which is the brand, and then he is a managing store of Kaboom Comics. They're actually talking about it as well. Not just him taking it down, they're talking about being in compliance with it.
There's so much media nowadays, it's hard to tell. You can't watch every single thing and read everything, so I don't know what characters are shown inappropriately at what ages and whatnot.
That's the sucky part about it. That's the sucky. I mean, that falls under category of all the comics he has there as well. It's not just the manga.
He more like in detail research on certain franchises on if they're going to be affected or not.
Balderas says he's already pulled some volumes of the popular Japanese comic book Dragon Ball Z from his shelves over concerns the main character was shown naked as a child in earlier issues. He says he's going to stay vigilant about what products are in his store and any customer requests.
I'm going to call BS on the last part there. No. And we know that based on the fact that if you look at their Facebook page, if you look at their X posts and whatnot of images, this is their manga section. And this is where I sort of get into the realm where I think this might be a tad of performativeness, if that's the word. This almost feels like it could be performative. It feels like it could be self-promotion. It feels like it could possibly be political in a way. Because this is their manga section. Their manga section is probably 2% of their store. Like their overall store, this is just one shelf with manga on it. This isn't going to hurt them. This is like a side project that they have. Let's have some manga in here. The majority of this store is comic books, it's Pokemon cards, and it's these pop head things over here that I absolutely hate. This is their manga. But I don't think they have Dragon Ball on their shelves. Every picture I've been able to find, there is no Dragon Ball on their shelf. I think this is the most recent one right here. There's no Dragon Ball, and there's no Dragon Ball Z. There's no Dragon Ball? They said specifically Dragon Ball Z. None of those spines are Dragon Ball Z. Now, I've experienced this before. I've been on a news report before, and what happens is they'll ask you a bunch of questions. They'll ask you who you are and everything like that, and they will only use like parts of it. And then most of it, they'll just narrate over a summary of what you say. And what could possibly happen is that, yes, he probably told the reporter, hey, yeah, Dragon Ball, I think, is one of the ones that's under fire, that's like really popular. And they're like, oh, yeah, let's talk about that because that's more sensational. That's more attention grabbing to talk about a big property like Dragon Ball. I doubt that he had Dragon Ball Z on his shelf. I highly doubt it. Again, I don't see it. And in order to have that entire box set, all those volumes on your shelf, it's going to take up that entire red shelf. And again, that's from all the pictures I've seen, this is the only shelf they have, which is this red shelf. And there's nothing in here that's Dragon Ball. It's just a few volumes of different shonen and whatnot. This isn't like a massive collection of manga here. And I would argue, honestly, by the way, if this is still on your shelf, Made in Abyss, I'd take that down. If this is still on your shelf, I would take that down. I would take down Fire Force as well. But this is just mostly just random shonens and whatnot, some very popular series, and it's mostly box sets. And if they had Dragon Ball in here, maybe it's in a shelf somewhere else. It looks like they're mostly all here. It's going to be the box set. It's not going to be like, I took down volume 14 of Dragon Ball Z. Doubt. In the end, again, this is definitely not the new Texas law is forcing him to take it down in stores. Again, this is a guy that read online that said SB20 is going to affect him in his store, and so he decided to take it down out of concern for what people are saying. I think the bigger, more concerning thing is that if other stores see that he's doing this and they go, crap, we got to look at this too, and the fact that Kaboom Comics is possibly looking into how they can sort of work around SB20. That's the two big concerning things there. My read on this whole situation is I almost feel like this is performative. I don't want to claim that 100%. I don't mean to like defame this guy or anything like that. I'm sure he's probably concerned, But there's a side of this that feels performative. It feels like it might be political. It could be possibly just trying to gain tension on the SB20 itself or the political leaders themselves, something like that. Because in the end, this isn't affecting him. This isn't affecting him. Why would he go on a news report over this little section of manga here? And Dragon Ball Z isn't even in the shelf. Why would you even be here? What are we even doing here? I don't think this even affects him, if anything, at all. Again, based on what I've seen for images of their store, this is all their manga. Why would he be on a news report about something small like this? Bringing attention to a store? Performative? Political? I don't know. I think the most damning stuff that he has in his store is probably his figurines that you kind of see for a brief moment. I think those are probably the most spicy thing he has. Yeah, that's probably the most spiciest one right there. In the end, I don't think this is the big alarm that they're making out to be. This isn't the big concern, I think. Again, it does sort of show that chilling effect, but I also think this is sort of a side effect of people's fear of the SB20 bill, is they're creating a fear in the retailers, which is sort of a reason why I was kind of not wanting to cover this, is because I've created content before. I have been pretty negative about SB20, but at the same time, I've always emphasized that look at the law yourself, and it won't hold up in court, so it's not really something to be too concerned about. But the chilling effect is happening. But I can acknowledge the idea that maybe the doom posting is making more damage than good, if anything. And that does kind of concern me a little bit there. So keep that stuff in mind. But anyways, that's my thoughts on this whole situation. Hope you guys enjoyed this video as always. Hopefully you found it informative. If you did, hit the like button down below. If you like this content, you want to support the channel more, become a member of the channel. Until next time, you'll take care.